Hey there everyone, and welcome to another skills tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be going through Mimic, Archmage and Arcane Blast. These three skills are a bit kind of complicated, and I'm going to try my best to talk about what they can do, but I'm not going to go into huge detail on how you use them. I'm saying this mostly about Mimic because it's very complicated. So anyway, Mimic is first of all, and what this does is it creates a little character that will run with you, and it looks like you, and then so basically it will then copy any action you do. So any skills you use, it will also use. I'll show you that quickly now. So say I use like a Mana Storm, and then it's going to use that too. If I do a Drake, you can see two Drakes pop down where it comes out. So basically this is quite an interesting skill, and it seems like it's really good. However, the damage it deals is pet damage, and also it doesn't copy your elemental stats. Additionally, there's some extra things with the combat. So if you look here at like this empowered frozen sphere, you can see the water damage being added. There's 100%, and then there's this static number. Now, normally on this skill, what this does is this 100% takes it from your damage stat, and then it gets multiplied by your elemental damage, and then this number just gets critted. You know, both these numbers can crit. Anyway, so what happens on Mimic is it will copy this 100% as 100% pet damage, which would be typically quite low, and then this damage on you it would normally crit, and this number would be quite high. However, on it doesn't crit with this amount. Ultimately, what this means is the damage output it deals is not that much once you get strong. If pet damage is strong for you, as in you're not strong enough for the content you're doing, then it can do quite decent damage, but otherwise the damage gets quite low and it falls off even more as you get elemental stats high. Where this damage can keep up a little bit is with Skurrins. So almost all the Skurrins, all the Skurrins right now, they add on elemental stats. So this is where this will actually do a bit more damage with skills. So you can see here, Mocking Demise adds on about 200% nature bonus, which means any nature skills this uses will be tripled in damage from what it normally does. So it can do some damage that way, but ultimately what this skill is all about is copying certain other effects. So you can see here the two skills I've picked here. There's Mana Storm here, sorry, which will do the slowing effect, so you can create that over a larger area, or you can do the main use is for putting two Drakes out. So when you're doing really hard content, you can have Mimic on and then put lots of Drakes out, and they will tank very nicely for you, as well as doing a bit more damage because they're doubled. And when you're doing really hard content, then pet damage is actually quite decent, so you can get some extra damage output by doing this, as well as extra defense. That's pretty much the only use of Mimic. It's not useful in PvP, it's not useful in farming, it's only useful in content which you're finding hard, and it's for copying Drakes. That's pretty much it. There are other, more complicated things about where you might want to use this, but basically that's it. And in terms of the skill points, you've got 10 points gives you a 10-second duration, and doubling this, increasing up to 99 points increases the duration up to 20 seconds. So if you had a lot of points, this is a good candidate for getting up to 99, because it makes it a lot more usable, because otherwise the cooldown is, it's very long for a 10-second duration that isn't even going to do that much. But 20 seconds means if you have a cooldown potion active, which if you were doing tough content you would have a cooldown potion active, it then means you can have this on constantly. And so then you can actually get some proper benefit out of it, and being able to use those Drakes frequently and stuff, it works quite nicely. That's where this skill works, but other than that very specific case, it's not that great. Also, you got to watch out that the mana cost goes extremely high when you get up to 99. So you can only do this. It's kind of for high level players and high level content. That's kind of the use of it. So anyway, I'll try to cover that as best I can without going into too much on it. But that's Mimic for you. Archmage. This I'm just going to get rid of these skills on my hotbar. Sorry. Archmage is one of the best skills on the class. So what this does is, for a certain amount of time, it's quite a long time, 15 seconds, you get auto crit, and also nothing costs any mana. This is a huge buff to wizards. You basically just, you spam skills in this time. It's great to use before then doing something like Mimic here, because then Mimic doesn't have to cost 360 mana. And yeah, anyway, this is just excellent. So in most content you can get a crit chance of 80%. So 80% to 100% is not increasing your damage output by that much. It's roughly kind of 1.2 times your damage output, but still that is good for the time it is there. And in PvP, this is brilliant for damage output as well as guild raids. So yeah, this is just a great damage buff for quite a decent length of time, and then the no mana cost is great too. The cooldown's quite long, but this is just such an excellent buff to your class. I can't really show it in combat because you know it just does a buff. But anyway, this is what it looks like, and it's very good. So where the skill runes make it even better is Master of Ice. So right now there are no other ones, and it's basically because Master of Ice is so overpowered they weren't sure what to create. I've actually talked with the developers and given them ideas of what skill runes they will add, and they will at some point relatively soon add more skill runes. But anyway, basically what this does is it adds 200% onto your water bonus. So if you look here on my stats right now, I have 404% on that. If I do the buff and then reopen this, because it doesn't actively do it, it's now 604% water bonus. Sorry, I just realised my cursor was over it there. So it's now gone up by 200%. This means you can do a lot more damage with all water skills, which is great for water builds. It means that builds that aren't even water builds can use water skills quite nicely. And yeah, it's great for newer players too that don't have, you know, maybe you don't have much access to elemental stats. This can be literally your water build, is just get this skill rune maxed and then have water skills, and you can do loads of damage even though you don't have those elemental stats from other things. So yeah, Master of Ice is an excellent skill rune, makes this a brilliant damage buff, and just, you know, you can revolve your build around this. So anyway, it's a cool skill. I've raved about it enough. As for skill points, at 10, you get the main benefits. It's good stuff. Going from 10 to 99 increases the mana cost to 360, and that might be a problem. So that would be the reason why you wouldn't do this. Also, if you don't have the skill points, but basically the mana cost can be an issue. So I would recommend having 1,500 mana, total mana or over, before considering getting this up to 99. But anyway, getting up to 99, I would say this is probably the third best skill in the class to max out. I'd recommend in the order Polymorph, Mana Bolts, and then Archmage. The reason why I'd recommend this to 99 is because it adds this regen. So this regen, I'm not going to get the points on now, but basically what it does is it adds, it gives you a passive healing. So over those 15 seconds, you heal fully. It may not seem like that much, but seriously, it is so useful. It triggers twice per second for 3.3% of your health, which just means you're constantly regaining health. And on top of all the other, defense buffs and stuff, basically what I've found is that compared to like Healing Fountain, which gives you brilliant healing for 10 seconds and makes you kind of not die for that time, what I can do is I can have Archmage on with the other normal defense buffs, and I will stay alive and not need Healing Fountain until this is ended, and then I do Healing Fountain, and then for those 10 seconds I can't die and stuff, and it means I can survive really well. So that's where this buff works really nicely on top of all the stuff it already does. That's what the 99 points can do. So that's really cool. And then moving on to Arcane Blast. Now this is a damage skill. It's one of the advanced skills, which means it hasn't got that much going for it right now in terms of skill runes and stuff. This just basically adds some damage on, but later on there may be extra effects and stuff that make this useful. But anyway, the damage, also sorry, you have to have it at 99 points. Before then, its cooldown and stuff it's just too low. It's not a very good skill. So it's only if you have lots of skill points you can pour into this. But I'm going to show what it does, just so to give you an idea, and talk about where it may be useful. So it hits a huge area in front of you when you attack. I've got to put the Arcanist. Oh no, I don't have it on. Oh, that is just shameful. Okay, hold on a second. I've got to put the right insignia on. I didn't actually think about that before making this video. But anyway, so what it does is it hits a beam out in front of you, and hits all the enemies in that beam, which means it can be great for hitting a group and taking out little groups. The damage on it is quite decent, but not huge. And so it's not until it becomes a good damage skill, it will basically work like an arcane ball. in terms of how it works. As you can see, hits a really wide path, and the cooldown is not ready. So yeah, it hits a wide path, hits all the areas in that line. It is quite a decent skill for damage output, but you know, we haven't seen it that much, so I can't say for certain how it will be, but it does look like it's a good damage skill for hitting little groups and stuff, working like Arcane Ball, but basically being a better damage version of it. And yeah, so that's what it's used for. It's just basically a damage skill, hitting a few enemies and stuff, and got a longer cooldown than something like Arcane Ball, but you know, better damage per skill use. So that's that skill there, and that's all those three. I hope that's covered everything that you may want to know. I haven't raved much about Arcane Blast, but that's only because there are no skill runes right now that make it very good. If there are skill runes out when you're watching this video that you know, add a lot of damage on or add some very useful effects on, then this skill may be very, very useful. It's got a nice low cooldown, decent damage on the base skill. You just need those 99 points. It doesn't even cost too much mana to use, so there's a lot of potential in this, and it just needs a good skill rune to make it useful. So thanks very much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one soon.